The courthouse smelled of paper and sweat, a place where lies wore suits and called themselves truth. I was walking out, case file under my arm, when I saw him, her father, the man who once looked me in the eye and called me a low-educated fool. He hadn't changed. His posture was still arrogant, chin tilted like the world owed him its throat. And when his gaze landed on me, I saw it again. Contempt. "Still hanging around these halls?" he muttered, his voice low, poisonous. "I thought the system had no use for men like you." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Silence unnerves men who thrive on their own words. But then it happened. Something shifted. He looked past me, his face drained, arrogance dissolving into something I had never seen before: fear. His lips trembled, his hand clutching his briefcase tighter. I turned slightly, following his eyes. Someone had appeared at the far end of the hall, and just like that, the lawyer, the untouchable man, was trembling. The world tilted. Questions I didn't want to ask began pounding in my skull. What had I missed? I replayed that moment all night. His expression, his fear. He had despised me, mocked me, dismissed me. But fear? Fear was new. When I asked my wife casually, she avoided my eyes. She said her father was under stress from work. But the lie sat between us, heavy, undeniable. Then the small things began to surface. Late-night calls she answered in whispers. Her phone face down on the table. A perfume I didn't recognize clinging faintly to her dress. I told myself it was nothing, that paranoia was corroding me. But then I remembered his words years ago, spoken with disdain. "She deserves better than you." Better? Someone with education, money, prestige. And suddenly, the puzzle shifted. What if the man he feared wasn't me? What if the fear had nothing to do with courtrooms at all? I started small, quiet. I checked phone bills, unknown numbers, repeating at odd hours. I tracked her movements under the guise of late work shifts. Her routes didn't match her excuses. The storm built inside me, silent and contained. On the surface, I was calm. I laughed at dinner. I kissed her cheek goodnight. But in my chest, the truth was forming claws. I sent in for a DNA test, not for myself, but for our son. A doubt I'd buried years ago clawed its way out the moment I saw her father tremble. The waiting was worse than bleeding. Each day stretched into a silent interrogation I couldn't escape. And when the envelope arrived, I didn't open it at once. I left it on the table, staring at it like it was alive. Because deep down, I already knew. The paper cut into me sharper than any knife. Not mine. The boy I had raised, loved, sacrificed for. He was not mine. I sat there, still, the air too heavy to breathe. The silence around me rang like a scream. When I finally showed her, I didn't speak. I slid the paper across the table. Her face crumbled instantly. No denial, no protest, just silence. Then shaking hands. Her lips parted, whispering words she thought might save her. "I'm sorry. It was before. I thought—" But I didn't move. My calmness was the cruelty. Her father's shadow lingered over every word. I understood now. The man she had turned to wasn't some stranger. It was the same man who had called me unworthy. And now I had proof. The next day I went back to the courthouse. He saw me before I spoke, and in his eyes I saw recognition. He knew what I carried. I waited until he approached. Then, quietly, I handed him the envelope. His fingers shook as he opened it. His lips tightened. His face turned the color of ash. "You knew?" he whispered. I tilted my head, voice flat. "Now everyone will." The silence after those words was heavier than any verdict. Because I didn't need to shout. I didn't need to strike. I had dismantled the empire he'd built with a single piece of paper. His reputation, his name, his pride, rotting from the inside. And I turned, walking away, leaving him standing in the ruins of his own arrogance. At home, she tried to speak. Her words were broken glass, cutting even as they fell. I listened. I let her drown in her confessions. But there was nothing left to salvage. The truth had already devoured us. That night, I packed a single bag. I kissed my son's forehead. Her son. His son. Not mine. And when I closed the door behind me, I felt nothing. No rage, no grief, just clarity. The man who once called me a fool had destroyed himself. The woman who betrayed me would live with her silence. I had no chains left, and for the first time, I was free.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. Subscribe now to Cheating Stories Insight World for more amazing stories.